Formula One has an issue that nobody seems willing to acknowledge. Now, hold your horses and save your dislikes and heated comments. I know it sounds like I'm just stirring the pot like Lance Stroll crashing into barriers at the Saudi Arabian race. Hear me out though. I bet many of you were expecting me to rant about Max Verstappen's dominance, ready to furiously type out defenses, but here's the thing, I'm not here to bash Max. No Formula 1 driver deserves hate simply for being successful, Lewis included. And as for not speaking on Lewis' reign of dominance, well, I wasn't creating videos back then. Back during Lewis' heyday, I was just a kid watching deleted scenes from the Cars movie on my uncle's phone. For those who were drawn in by the thumbnail declaring Formula 1 is boring now, stick around because there's more to it. While the boredom factor is certainly up for debate, that's not actually the crux for today's discussion. The real unspoken problem with Formula 1 isn't its dull moments, it's predictability. Now, let's start with predictability. So why is predictability such a problem in F1? Well, let me paint a picture for you. There was that infamous video made right after the pre-season testing, where, by the way, Alpine's car was dubbed a tractor. I boldly claimed I'd do something drastic if Max didn't win the first few races of 2024. Spoiler, he won in Bahrain by a staggering 22 seconds, so yeah, everything's still intact. Thank goodness. I'd crown Max the Dutch Minister of Ball Defense if I could, but what really got me was the reaction post-race. People flooded back to my video amazed at my prediction. Comments range from "this video aged like fine wine" to "can you predict the future?" Flattering, sure, but no, I can't see the future. If I could, my math grades would have looked very different. I didn't need a crystal ball to foresee Max's dominance. All it took was a glance at Red Bull's 2023 performance and a read through one article about their 2024 plans. It's that easy. And that's exactly the problem. F1 has been ridiculously predictable since mid-2023. You'd have to be blind, deaf, and, well, significantly unobservant not to see Max was set to dominate 2024. Even as a die-hard Fernando Alonso fan, I have to tip my hat to the sheer synergy of Max and Red Bull. It's almost a given he'll bag most of the wins this year. Yet, this very predictability is something the F1 community seems unwilling or unable to acknowledge. In a recent community post I saw on the internet, of course, there's this question: is F1 boring? Some of you agreed yes, it is. However, the majority opted for debatable, which I believe is the most accurate stance. It suggests that whether F1 is boring can be pretty split, a 50-50 issue. Despite this, there's a notable reluctance among F1 media to acknowledge this. A clip featuring Jeremy Clarkson and Martin Brundle illustrates this perfectly. Clarkson attempted to critique the predictability of the Formula 1 season, but Brundle barely listened, showcasing the denial that permeates the sport. Clarkson pointed out how little changes from one year to the next. For instance, this past season, the only real shuffle was Alpine and McLaren swapping places, and we ended up hearing the Dutch anthem 24 times instead of 19. Red Bull's continued dominance might suggest predictability and boredom, but it's actually more nuanced than that. While Red Bull might be running away with it, the rest of the field tells a different story. Outside of Red Bull's bubble, Formula 1 is far from boring. The competition among the other teams is tighter than ever. It's so close, in fact, that drivers are metaphorically kissing each other's in the ass on the track. This closeness contributes to an exciting, if unpredictable, racing dynamic that contrasts sharply with the monotony at the top. Because F1 feels predictable and mundane at the top but remains vibrant at the lower ranks, it highlights a significant issue. The sport feels overly restrictive. When we tune into the 2024 Formula One season, it often feels like the real excitement is confined to the midfield battles from P1 to P15. These can indeed be thrilling, like Kevin Magnussen's intense defense against Albon in Saudi Arabia, where every tap and skirmish carries weight. Yet, these battles sometimes feel futile, especially when they're not even for points. It begs the question, what exactly are these drivers fighting for? Is it merely to salvage some pride? This is your typical F1 viewing experience in 2024. Burst of excitement shouting, "Oh my god, Charles just locked up," as the races unfold. Yet we find ourselves limited to enjoying the sport primarily through these midfield dramas, while the podium spots often feel pre-decided. This limitation is a huge problem, particularly for newer fans. While older fans might be more accustomed to phases of domination in F1 history, for newcomers, it's a less engaging introduction to the sport. Where still, despite the predictability of Formula One, there seems to be no clear solution in sight to address this imbalance. The ongoing dominance at the top continues to overshadow the genuinely competitive racing happening just below, stunting broader appeal and potentially the growth of the sport's fanbase. Realistically, we can't just tell Red Bull and Max Verstappen to stop winning. That would be like handing some GTA 6 and telling them not to play it. Max is just doing his job and happens to be exceptionally good at it. Plus, Red Bull has developed a car so fast that Sergio Perez could hypothetically take a detour to New Mexico, come back to the racetrack, and still secure P2. So, asking Red Bull to just stop winning isn't a practical solution. Despite nodding off during the middle of the last couple of races due to the predictability at the top, I, as a die-hard F1 fan, jokingly propose a top-secret solution to make F1 less boring at the top. Turn off Esteban Ocon's brakes and send him flying into Turn 1, or have Pierre Gasly shake things up at Turn 2. Just kidding. Of course, this baguette special operations is purely fiction and not a real strategy. Realistically, the only thing that can change the state of F1 is for the other 9 teams to elevate their game. As fans, we can't do much but watch how the regulations designed to promote closer racing unfold. While it's tempting to imagine wild scenarios, the truth is, our best hope lies in the teams stepping up to challenge Red Bull's dominance. Now, some of you might be thinking of skipping the F1 season entirely because of its predictability. However, I'd advise against that. Formula One, despite its predictability, can still surprise us with incredible races and unexpected moments. Let's try to stay positive, even though I've been pretty critical in this video. Perhaps, just maybe, we could witness some exciting race moments. And while it's tempting to fantasize about drastic changes, like Christian Horner sending Yuki Tsunoda a tricked-out car to challenge Max, the reality is that we're likely in for more of the same. But at the end of the day, Formula One is still a prime source of entertainment, and that's why I find myself tuning in for the 5th year in a row, even if it sometimes falls short of exceptions.